Hey guys, it's Man in Black here. Sorry 52 weeks has been on hiatus for too many weeks. Basically what happened is I got sick when I was supposed to be filming last episode, and editing these specials kind of got to me and couldn't quite do what I planned to do. So what I'm going to do is Sophie, Miss Liv from the Agony booth, she did 6 months of Green Lantern for me, and I was just going to edit it, and between being sick and getting busy, I never finished that. So I'm going to let her speak, and then I'm going to say my part. Since you've been waiting so long, I might as well say what I would have had to say anyway. And without further ado, here's Sophie.
Hi, evening, morning, night, whatever time it is. There is some work going on in the apartment beside my own, but basically I'm taking over Man in the Black's blog for this week, and I'm going to talk about the Green Lantern comics. 6 issues which I've just read just now. A little introduction, who am I? I haven't really posted on Man in Black blog yet. I'm a video producer going by the name Miss Liv, have a show called Red Suitcase Adventures, and I am a comic book universe fan, I will call it, because I am a huge fan of the comic book universe in movies, television, and have checked a lot of that out and really know a lot about that. My big introduction was through Justice League, the television show in America, but of course when I have such a great interest in the characters as Green Lantern and Superman, I have read my fair share of comic books. I don't follow it passionately. I mean, if I am out of country, in a foreign country, and is in a comic book shop, we don't really have comic book shops in Denmark, which is where I'm from, which is why I have a funny accent, but we don't really. So when I am in a comic book outside, I usually pick something up. I of course have all the classic ones like Watchmen and that kind of stuff. I've read that and I enjoy comic books. I don't follow passionately, but I enjoy it, and I enjoy superheroes. So I know something about Green Lanterns, but kind of superficially. I know the basics of Green Lantern, at least. I know who he is, I know some of the different characters. Obviously, as I am a great Justice League fan, I am most familiar with John Stewart and have no idea why they keep insisting that Hal Jordan is the best one, because I don't know that much about him, to be honest. I know who Kara is, that she becomes Star Sapphire. I know who Sinestro is. I know kind of what the Guardians is, what Kilowog is. I know a lot more about the Batman universe than I know the DC, to be honest. But I read these six new Green Lantern comic books, which I guess is recently released, and overall I enjoyed them. It was a very solid plot with solid characters, solid conversations, and I understood all the way through, even though I don't follow the continuity, what it's about, and it was solid. The first comic book starts off on Earth, where apparently we find out that Hal Jordan has been dispatched from the Green Lantern Corps that just took the ring away from him. Carol is not Star Sapphire anymore, but still they can't make it work. Then the interesting thing is that Sinestro, who's been the villain, having a yellow lantern, handing down lanterns for... I have always known him as a villain, was taken back into the Green Lantern Corps to become a Green Lantern again. And that is actually a very old school basic plot, the redemption of the villain. And that's always interesting, it always is. Sinestro is a good villain. The greatest kinds of villain are always the kind of villain you can get behind, and I could get behind Sinestro and why he had done what he did, and it was also explained really well in this comic book what he has done, and they didn't just redeem him like that, but he did some... he did something. He wasn't out of character, but still he did good things. And it also ended up becoming a team-up comic book, which is also interesting. We always like seeing a team-up, seeing Superman and Lex Luthor team-up, seeing Batman and Joker team-up. I don't know what is so cool about it, but it is. And what basically happens here is that Sinestro already knows that nobody's going to help him save his own homeworld, which he incidentally enslaved. His own Yellow Lantern Corps was out of control and took down his planet. So, nice going, Sinestro. And he asked then Hal Jordan for help by forging a ring to Hal Jordan from his own ring. So he's basically giving Hal his own power because Hal is the only one likely to help. And the reasoning behind why Hal will help is actually pretty good again, and goes to show an interesting but flawed character. I will say this Green Lantern is probably never ever going to be my favorite superhero. I get it, and he is fairly interesting, but I don't know, he's just not my kind of character. Sinestro is clearly the star of this, and he's just cool. He's a cool villain, he's a cool anti-hero, he's a cool anti-villain, if there's a word like that. And he's cool throughout this whole comic. And as soon as we start talking about him, as we talk about the planet, where he came from, we get some glimpses into some of his past that get some hints, which seems really, really interesting to me. And man, the Guardians are assholes. Don't know if I'm supposed to tell what they come. No, I'm not. But it's really an assholing thing to do, and I'm actually intrigued. I kind of want to read the next couple of comic book issues. Really sounds great. Carol, unfortunately, is uninteresting. And that is the curse about women in comic books, the women girlfriend. And as I'm led to understand, Carol is one of the more interesting. She's been manipulated, she's been a villain, and so on. But she doesn't do much, and she's not supposed to. And there's all this superhero love thing. She's there, and she fulfills her own purpose. It's a very solid comic book. It knows what it wants to tell. It's a very step for step solid story, and that is good. That is very good, and it takes some very, very classic concepts. There's no concept in here I haven't seen before. The hero stuck just being without power suddenly and still wants to rescue, is desperate to get the power, gets the power, the villain, again, the team up, the redemption of the villain. We all love villain redemption. If we are set up a really, really good villain, which is so good you can get behind him and get his actions, there's nothing more delightful than redemption, but it never works, and in the end they always die. It's kind of funny. But yeah, the artwork could be a little bit odd. Mostly it was good, but there was some really odd face expression. Hal Jordan in particular had a very stupid grin on it. It looked odd with his face expressions, but other than that, the fights were good, the movements were good, the other people's faces were good. It was only Hal Jordan's which was weird sometimes. The aliens looks cool, and the cool thing about the Green Lantern comics is you can do cool things with the ring, and so on. Which is why it's so terrible that the movie is so terrible. I am getting to that in my own review, trust me. It's my next one. I don't think I have... No, I hope this is good enough. I enjoyed it. It was a very solid, good read. There was perhaps one or two moments in the first two comic books when I think, oh, just because it was also familiar, but then it picked up. And I was really happy that it was so grounded and solid, and that was what comic books should be. When you write a comic book, when you write a tale, just have the solid line, and then you have more room to all the other stuff you really wanted. The worst thing that can happen is it's all over the place, and this wasn't. This was very solid, and it's very nice. So maybe I'll see you guys another time, next time. Yeah. Hey, yeah.
Alright, I'm not going to scroll all the way through all the comics again. I'll probably edit in some images and such, but I'm not reading them all again. It was interesting to me seeing Sophie's point of view. In this case, I'm going to say because she felt the story was a lot better for newcomers than I did. And looking back on that, I think it's because I'm looking at it as a newcomer wants to see everything explained, what's going on. You know, part of the reason why comics are always afraid, oh my god, we need to start over again because people won't understand continuity. And in this case, I think Sophie is looking at it as, well, I'm not going to know all of the facts. I'm going to boil it down to the most important ones and enjoy the story, which is a completely valid point of view to take. It's just not one that I am able to take. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I don't think I'd be able to take the first issue if I had no idea what was going on, unless I was sitting on Wikipedia for hours on end. And I don't know I guess I've been spoiled in Star Wars fandom, but other fandoms seem so much less organized that I probably would not, if I didn't already know what trade paperbacks to get, I would not know where to find the information. Basically, really, the only legal way to get the information of what's going on is to buy the trade paperbacks or buy the issues themselves. There's really no other way to find out all the details listed, which is why I say that Star Wars, by the time the issue had been out for an hour, 300 people would have updated Wikipedia explaining everything that someone coming in after the fact would need to know, or that someone that couldn't afford the book would need to know. So, other than that, well, basically the first 6 issues, it's about the bromance between Hal and Sinestro. Nothing new there. They admit the other has some strengths, kind of expected, but we see a bit of Sinestro's backstory. I am always a sucker for anything with Sinestro's backstory. I would have liked to see a bit more. I would have liked to see them explore some of this, but I also know that nowadays they're constrained to their 5 or 6 issue arcs. They want everything to be wrapped up so they can put in a trade paperback, put it in Barnes & Noble because Borders isn't there anymore, put it on Amazon, and sell it that way. And, I personally am a fan of very long story arcs. I wouldn't mind, Korrigar Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 as 3 different 6-issue trade paperbacks. I would love to see that if it gave us more Sinestro, if it gave us a real reason why Hal needed to be there, because he didn't. He was only there for Geoff Johns and for the fans. Sorry, I had an interruption there. But basically my feeling on this first 6 issues is that Hal was unnecessary, and it brought up a whole lot of backstory that we don't have. Too many questions, I feel, for anybody who hasn't been reading, because I know more of Hal's backstory than someone like, say, Sophie does. I've been reading this for a long time, and I feel like I wasn't given enough information because I didn't read Brightest Day Green Lantern, and I didn't read War of the Green Lanterns. And having not read those, I want to know what the hell I'm looking at. So maybe for a casual reader this is okay. For a hardcore comic reader who has not been up to date, this arc does not cut it. Beyond that, it does tell an alright story. I would probably say 3 out of 5, something like that. And of course the latest issue, which Sophie didn't really touch on. That's fine. I didn't ask her to anyway, but the last issue, as those of us who read trade paperbacks know that, oh, Cat wants out, I'll get him out in a second. Those of us who read trade paperbacks know that the 6th issue is going to be the start of the 2nd trade. Here we have Sinestro go off on a mission on his own. Hal goes off on a date, kind of a mirror to the first issue. It shows that he's found some completion in his life. His deal with Sinestro, he's, come to some more understanding of himself. He's more content in his role as a normal human being. Meanwhile, Sinestro realizes he needs Hal. He cannot do this job without Hal. Say what you want for the shippers. Go ahead. Jeff Johns, I think, is pretty much giving you clear, write all the slash you want. I will go back into this, mainly because if I hadn't promised to, would I? Probably not, but maybe I might just be that kind of fan that can't put it down even if the story gets mediocre. We're going to see what I think about issue 7 when that comes around. Until then, thank you so much, anybody who's waited for me. I am sorry that this is coming out 2 months late, or a month, at least a month late, but I think it's 2 months late. I will do what I can to make it up for you, but right now I'm getting through these videos, so if there's a Green Lantern Corps and New Guardians will not be of the same quality as Red Lanterns, if you haven't guessed that. So again, thank you so much for waiting. Thank you so much for watching in the first place. I'm sorry for taking so long. I was going to tell you what's been up with me. I've been working on the Dark Matter Awards. I've been working on this epic Firefly Serenity review with Daniel Pizarro of the DJ Report. It's on his channel, but it's also on MIBReviews.com. So if you're not following the site, follow there and you can see all of my stuff. What else have I been in? I've been keeping up on my text stuff, surprisingly. It is a little bit surprising. Other than that, just been working on things to come, which hopefully you'll see soon. Man in Black out.